25% increase everywhere.
Every basic ability, skill, and talent can be developed through hard work, good strategies, persistence, dedication, and input from others. Where focus goes, energy flows. So focus your energy on continuous learning and stop wasting time thinking about looking smart. Build resistance, build vulnerability, build courageousness, and face adversity with a smile. Become comfortable with uncomfortable. You know, the only person that you need to prove anything to is you. Imperfect action trumps perfect inaction. Stop wasting time and get on with it. Failure is part of learning, so start learning by taking action.
Kristian Lavolsi, welcome to the hot seat. Now, you've got to love a live broadcast, right? You just never really know what's going to happen.
Not at all. That was just insane. I was just like, didn't do what it normally does. So, but we're here now.
We are here. Welcome. It is Wednesday. We are back for the hot seat, 5 p.m. Sydney time. We are excited to be bringing some value to our audience, to our followers, and we're continuing on the theme this week of productivity, something we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. And, you know, there's so many different angles to this. So we're going to continue on with that conversation today. And let's get straight into it with my first question for you today, Kristian. I really wanted to ask you, now this is something we've been diving into as a team, as our leadership team, all the way down into our granular levels of our employees, our talent, whatever you like to call them. I'd love to know from you, what are some of the tools that you really recommend for having a productive day every day? I know you're massive on your Google Calendar. That is a huge thing for you. But what are some of the other hacks, tips, tools that you use to be super efficient every single day?
Well, one, live with purpose. Know your purpose. You know, everyone thinks that, you know, the productivity hacks are like some magic bullet. No. It's successful people do the things that unsuccessful people choose not to do. And most unsuccessful people do all the simple things because they're always looking for this magic bullet, Simone. So the first thing is know your why. When you have purpose, you create outcomes. Okay? Have SMART goals and read them every morning and every night. Your goals should be enshrined in everyday practice. So many people write goals at the beginning of the year after they've, you know, been out on the gas, they're tanked, and they say, I'm going to lose 100 kilos. They do well for 3 days and why? Because they never wrote it down. The statistics are pretty bad. 10% of people that actually have goals actually follow through, and only 3% actually achieve them. So no wonder why the top 3% of the world are the successful people, right? Yeah. So, and don't quote me on those stats, but that's kind of where they are. It's pretty disappointing. The other one is you got to develop discipline, right? You know, you see all these people that go to the gym and they're grossly unsuccessful. Do you know why? They've developed this discipline to go to the gym because they have to look and feel great and tell the world how great they are, right? But then you're unsuccessful in other parts of your life. You've got to develop the disciplines that keep you in alignment. You know, like I was reflecting today on the disciplines that I used to keep when I used to go to the gym. And, you know, benching 265 kilos. There is a video on YouTube of me doing that. So it can be validated, you know. And, you know, I used to warm up on 180 kilos. You don't get to lift that level of weight unless you're training and you got disciplines. And then I met Lucy and I put on 70 kilos and the rest is history. I never lost the baby fat, all right? So that's kind of how I use it. My wife, on the other hand, is far more disciplined than me in that area. That's the area that I lack discipline. It's because I apply my craft elsewhere, right? but it's
Yeah.
it's likely going to damage me in the long run. So I've got to fix that.
Mm.
This is me being honest. But the big one is use your bloody calendar.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a calendar. Back in the day, it used to be called a diary, right? And the diary was like a book, and you used to write shit in it. And people then have gone, oh my god, I can't write anymore. So keep a fucking diary. There goes the G rating. But the point is, it pisses me off. I teach diary blocking like a religion and time tracking. Use the Pomodoro method. There's even a free Pomodoro timer, right? And you hit it, you start an activity, and you focus on it for 20 minutes. That's all you've got to do, Simone, is focus for 20 minutes at a time. You know that most people can't concentrate for more than 5 minutes. I watch people in meetings, right?
Yep.
And I'm just like, I'm sorry that we're so boring for you. Maybe you started listening, you'd actually perform better, right? So the other skill to be more productive is listen. When someone is speaking and it's your superior, your boss, or anyone for that matter, pay attention.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what you actually start to hear and what you will actually be able to do. The other one that pisses me off more than anything is put your phone on silent and turn off every single notification. Right? Have you ever heard my phone ring in a year, 12 months that you've been working with the team?
No, actually.
It doesn't. It's on permanent silent.
Yeah.
Only certain members in my favorites can call me and my phone will go off. Use technology to be more productive. Make technology an enabler, not a disabler.
Yeah. So we kind of touched on last week about the distractions.
Yeah.
And that's what it
For
is.
every distraction, it takes 7 minutes for someone to get back into the zone. So if you get distracted by a notification every 7 minutes, you're never in the zone, right? Listen to the crowd. And the last one, Simone, is you got to learn to say no 20 times more than you say yes.
Yeah, that's a big one, right? I've heard you say this before as well.
Yeah. And there's no wonder that our clients, are hugely successful because they listen to this. They practice the basics like a religion. A lot of them practiced it before they even came to me. I just enhanced the strategy, right?
Yeah.
And drive the thinking that they can't do because they don't have a helicopter view 24 hours a day like I do. I've got the coolest job in the world. I say it every week. I get to fly in a helicopter almost 24 hours a day, whether it's in my businesses or whether it's in the businesses of our clients. Yeah. And that's why I am who I am. It's not because of some innate talent or gift that I was born with. It's a byproduct of the circumstance that I've created for myself through the decisions that I have made. And that's about 5 minutes, so I apologize.
Yes, the timer did go off, but that was very valid points. So, okay, let's move on to our second question. And you kind of touched on this when you talked about your purpose and why before, but how much of an importance does your mindset play into your performance?
Oh, you're desperately trying to piss me off, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, listen up. Mindset is everything, right? Mindsets, right, plural, helps you simplify things, right? These belief systems, these mindsets, they help us set expectations. They help us plan for the worst and guide decisions based on the assumptions that we make. Understanding the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset is just the start of a more fulfilling life, right? Cultivating a growth mindset, Simone, will actually help you turn failure or even fear into fuel, right? So that you can take courageous actions, but also make better decisions for yourself and your workplace and your peers and your family moving forward, right? And a strong mindset means more awareness of self and others, and as well as an increase in emotional intelligence, right? But what's also really important, and I'll give you a really simple example in a moment, a mindset essentially is just a series of self-perceptions or beliefs that people hold about themselves. Okay? It's always themselves. A mindset is internalized, right? And these determine our behavior, our outlook, and all of the mental attitudes that we have. And so, for example, it's believing that you're either intelligent or unintelligent. Now, imagine if we started with that. I was brought up in a house where I got beaten to a pole. With a pole, actually, and rubber hoses. I grew up in a very violent environment, and I got taught that I was stupid because I was constantly told that I was stupid, that I was an idiot, that I couldn't do anything. And so I turned all that fear and internalized it by developing a fixed mindset that I was stupid. And the moment I got out of that situation and I grew up and learnt about the mindsets that you need to have, and I developed a winning mindset, a competitive mindset, a strong mindset by playing sport. And when I knew that and I wasn't the fittest, the fastest, I just bloody believed it, and I worked hard and I visualized performance, right? And, my coaches would always say to me, you win us the game in the last 5 minutes. How are you not dead?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just that extra 2% that I come up with. It's how I started lifting at the age of 35, 265 kilograms, right? Because it's a mindset, right? It's why I built 80 businesses, right? Over my short lifetime, okay?
Yeah.
It's why I want to build another 100, right? But I realized that building another 100 is just stupid and risky. So I'm better off helping other people build their businesses into successful businesses, right?
Yeah.
And why? Because I learnt my skill set. I'm not an executioner, right? I'm actually a strategist. I strategize, I develop it, and then I put better people in to execute and take action, right? But a mindset, right, is the difference between success and failure. And I guess to let people go, oh, that's easy, well, for you to say that. Say, no. I have evidence. I can show you report cards, right, up until year 12, where I got worse than an F. And self-discipline required, self-belief required. Like, these are the things that people wrote. My teachers, they believed in me. I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah.
Simone. And it wasn't until after I built successful businesses, failed miserably, came back and bounced back, that I realized I was smart. And I went back to uni. I went to uni, graduated with an MBA, and got golden keys. You don't get golden keys if you're not smart. You don't get golden keys because it's the top 15 or 12%, whatever it is, of world academics. I became an adjunct professor, technically best in the field. I became the inaugural entrepreneur and resident of a Sandstone University. I wasn't stupid, but I grew up in an environment that told me I was stupid, developed a fixed mindset, and was never allowed to develop this other growth mindset. And I guess that now teaches me to teach my children differently.
Yeah.
By encouraging, not diminishing. So the attitude is, and the mindset that you need in life, forget work, in life. I hate negative people. I run. I walk into a room and I feel your energy, I bolt. And people go, mate, what's wrong with Kristian? I'm not going near you.
Yeah.
Right? And people often say to me, Kristian, you hang around with some real dickheads. And I'm like, no. They are really positive people who are actually going out and achieving shit, but they're also super smart. So you don't relate to them because you're not that bright. And people look at me and they're like, what? That's the truth. You don't want to hear the truth? The truth hurts.
Yeah.
Right? Stop judging people. Embrace people for who they are and what they stand for. But look beyond that. Go below the iceberg.
Yeah.
Right? The iceberg is much bigger underneath than it is above. Right? Go
So I
deeper.
have one question of this. This isn't my third question, but I want to ask, what is your take on the saying, fake it till you make it? Is that part of having a growth mindset? Is that telling yourself that you are there or that you want that before
No,
you...
Simone, I developed the fake it till you make it shit, right? And you know what that is? That just engrosses your imposter syndrome. It just exacerbates it, right? And then you end up growing up in survival mode like I did, and you're just exaggerating shit over and over again. And it's taken me years to break that vicious cycle. Years.
So fake it till you make it is not having a growth
No,
mindset.
absolutely not. Fake it till you make it is just bullshit, right? Okay, what you need to do is really internalize, know who you are, become a master at something, and share it with the world. I mean, it's no secret. I have made some absolutely outlandish statements in my previous life. I haven't made any in 5 years. I think the last time I made one was in 2017, and it cost me dearly, right?
Yeah.
And that's the way life serves you. For me, it was, hey, Kristian, you're too good to be saying stupid shit. Stop saying it. And I had to learn one final lesson. And from there, I've 20x'd where I was. When people thought I was defeated, I rose from the ashes, a brand new person, and I'm truly happy to be who I am. I don't have to, and I keep saying to myself every time then that lie that comes into your head and says, you need to be more. And it's like, no, you are enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do you know what I mean? And I say this to people all the time, and I think this was what makes me a really good advisor. And I love being a chairman of companies, right? Like it's one of the, because, I'm now 45 and I have the wisdom of an 80-year-old is what my clients say to me. Right? And I'm blessed to have that. And, and I encourage anyone who doesn't believe that to come and just talk to me if you can get 5 minutes with me. Right?
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, it's because I have lived every single thing that I've been through, and I don't want other people to go through it. And that's why even on this broadcast, we're so open and honest, because I have nothing to hide. And everything that has ever been said has been said. Right?
Yeah.
And so the answer there is that you've got to be true to you, and you've got to know what you stand for and what you live for. And I'm not even sure that this is what you wanted to talk about, but the reality of it is, this is what life's really about. Life is very short. In hindsight, I remember being 20, bleaching my thin hair blonde, being put in, the Attitude magazine as a hair model. Apparently had a very pretty face. Shame for the head. But when I had hair, and, I look back and I think I couldn't wait to grow up. And that's because I was escaping from the truth. And the truth was, we all have the opportunity to be great. It's the mindset. It's the mindset that we need. I really need to finish our Live with Purpose program, don't I?
We do.
Funny, every time I say this, I know I get private messages. I've had 2 messages already privately saying, when's that program that you talk about all the time? And I'm like, shit, I've got to do it. And I know it's going to change the world. The closest thing to that is, going to a 4-day Tony Robbins event. And, even then, that's UPW is a amazing program that kind of leads you into buying other programs. Whereas I want to create a program that truly gives you what Simon Sinek, wrote in a book of 180 pages that he wrote on 1 page. Really, but it's really important. It's really important to live your purpose. It's really important to find it, and it's bloody hard to find it. Right?
Yeah.
There's no secret. It's really hard to find it. But I took you through the process, and 4 or 5 months later, you found it. Because it took time. Right?
It did. All right, I have one more question for you today. And I wanted to ask you, what should you do if you're really not feeling passionate or purposeful within your business? Now, this is something I see you experience with a lot of your new clients that come on. They're just so worn out. They've been running in the hamster wheel for so long, and they've really lost the passion and purpose for your business. What do you do when you get to that point? Like, how do you move forward or move on?
Caveat, those clients that come to us are actually very successful, though, and have just had enough. And the reason why they've had enough or lost their passion and purpose is they've lost direction, right?
Yeah.
Most of them have been incredibly successful on their own, well before they met me. And what they're drawn to is the fact that I have purpose and they don't. And that's a really simple one. If you're one of those people that doesn't have purpose, then you're going to be attracted to someone like me who is purpose-driven because you want that. Everyone wants to know why they're actually on Earth. Well, I can't answer that question, right? But I can answer my question why I'm here, right? And that is to create freedom for people, right? To help them live their best life by, helping them in their businesses and in their life. The best compliment that I get from our clients is that I've saved their marriage. Yet I'm there growing their company 23, 24% year on year.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what I get a real kick out of. But if you're one of those people that's not feeling passionate or purposeful in your business, then you've got to seek out help. No matter where you are. I mean, if you're lost your purpose and passion because your business is shit and you're going broke, then quit. Right? Like seriously, we recently helped a client who just could not find their way. And I just said, shut it. Pack it up. And they're like, but I'm going to lose all this. I said, no, you're not. This is what you're going to lose if you continue. And it took me like half an hour. I mapped out what they would lose over the next 6 months if they didn't get out. And their passion and purpose was diminished significantly because of the financial situation that they had put themselves in because they didn't do the work when I told them to do the work. Right?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden that they're out of this situation, their passion and purpose is coming back very, very fast. And they're very talented and brilliant at what they do. And already, bang, I've got this. Great. Plan it. Think about it. Let's learn. And they've learned from that experience. Don't go out and, hire bricks and mortar businesses that's going to cost you $100,000 a year. Find an alternative solution. We've got a smarter business model. We're paying 10 or 15 grand for a space. Like it's changed the dynamic of the whole business. But it's about changing the mindset, Simone. Right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I would actually do, if I was in your situation, I'm going to give the listeners a real golden nugget. If you're one of those people that's just quite not feeling the passion and the purpose, ask yourself why. Just start there. Ask yourself why. Why am I not feeling the passion? Right? And forget if it's work. What about if it's your marriage? Why am I not passionate or purposeful about the person I'm spending my life with? You're going to be really surprised how quickly you can find the answers. And most of the time, it's you. Right? Most of the time, it's you. When I have a disagreement with my wife, and it's very rare, like we've had 3 in 10 years, right? It's funny how I am always the person that goes away and says, why am I fighting with her? What's this? And when I internalize it, most of the time, it's the 3 times it's been her fault. But I turn it back onto me. No, I know she's probably going to watch this at some point. So, no. The truth is you've got to internalize. You've got to say, okay, why? Why? So this applies to any situation. Ladies and gentlemen, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we have got to understand this. Everybody has to understand this, okay? And, the key is ask yourself why. I was actually looking for the drum roll. I couldn't find the drum roll. It's gone, right? But I was going to say drum roll, and then I was like, can't find the button. But the point I'm making is, first start with ask yourself why. Seek help. So everyone's intelligent enough to ask themselves why.
Yeah.
Then seek out help. All right. Now, if it's the first point of call for help, if you're not feeling passionate or purposeful, go see a psychologist first. I mean, they're in high demand. If you can get in one, it might take you 2 months. So you might be better off actually calling me, right? Well, actually, no, I'm about 3 months, right? Maybe Karim Bokta from the Bokta method, right? But the reality of it is, Karim's a client and a friend. But the thing is, at the end of it, they're the 3 decisions. Ask yourself why, seek out help, take action, or quit. And there is no shame in quitting. There is no listen to me and listen very carefully. This bullshit notion of never giving up is another bullshit fixed mindset, right? Okay? There are times where you've got to quit. If it's for your mental health, if it's for the well-being of your family and others. I see so many people in business doing shit because they thought they had this wonderful idea that was going to change the world, but it didn't even solve the most basic problem. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to win in life, you've got to solve a world problem. No? A world problem. If you want to be a unicorn, like Canva, like Culture App, You got to solve massive problems that other people can't solve.
Yeah.
Right? Most of your ideas, I'm sorry to tell you, including my own, are shit. No, because
Reality.
an idea is like an arsehole. Everyone's got one.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to then put energy and purpose. And if you don't have purpose when you start something and you don't have the meaning, right, you're never going to create the wealth that it needs to be able to flourish. You know, some of these truths are going to hurt a lot of our people that are listening. And I'm sorry, but I have a no bullshit approach. So if you're offended, you can, go and play wherever. But the reality of it is, I'm not here to make friends. And I say this to people: I have enough friends, and they already struggle to see me. Right? I've got a wine cellar that's getting way too big. I've got a cigar collection that's not getting smoked. I've got, the reality of it is, I really want to just help people. I want to be able to give people the hard truth about what it takes. And it's not hard work. That's another bullshit misconception. It's the right mindset. Okay? I think we had this conversation in one of our meetings last week, right? You got to have the right mindset. And and please don't get offended too easily, right? I get offended all the time. I mean, my daughter called me fat this morning. And I looked at her and I said, honey, you are so right. And I said, if you continue to eat as much as I do, you'll get fat too. And she was like, huh? I'm like, well, if you get, yeah. And Lucy's like, you can't say that. I'm like, what do you mean? I didn't say she's fat. I said, if you eat like I do, you'll get fat too. I just bypassed the fact that I don't have insulin intolerance and all the other shit. But, the abuse over the years and, a shit gene pool, if you can say that in terms of how I process food. If there's a famine, the doctor reckons that I'll outlive 90% of people. I don't wish there's a famine. I really don't. Right? Because my son would die really quickly. He's like the twig. Fastest metabolism on the planet. And he's bred all day. But the reality of it is, it's the mindset you have. Like, you got to live life full out. I just don't understand people that sleep. I know you need it, but why? And it's a mindset. I know there's no scientific evidence to what I'm going to say next, but I truthfully believe that I literally have been fighting illness for months, right? You know this, and everyone around me gets sick, and yet I just keep saying to myself, I can't afford to get sick. I can't afford to get sick. I can't afford to get sick. And all of a sudden, it's just like, I just don't. I miss it, and I keep saying, hopefully, I'm not jinxing myself, and I'm going to get even sicker. But it's a mindset. Like, I just don't have the luxury, and so and I, as I said, there might be some bullshit in that, but the reality of it is, I started to believe it because it's like, everyone around me, Lucy's got really bad flu, and I'm just like, no, I've got to keep going. I've got to keep going. Like, it's just the way it is. And some people out there would say that that's, you're driving yourself to burnout. Yeah, I don't need a lecture in that. Been there, right? I've written a book on it, right? So it's really important that people understand everyone has their own threshold. That's probably the caveat I need to put. But a threshold is there to be stretched. How do athletes, the 4-minute mile is a prime example. Bannister was told no one could break it. And then when he broke it, shitloads of people broke it afterwards. Because the mindset, the fixed mindset that it couldn't be broken. Right? Athletes out there understand that. I've been a member of the Quarter Club for a long time, that raises money for the Olympic Games. And, for our athletes. And I love meeting those athletes at the events because, Anna Mears, she blows my mind every time I hear her speak, right? In terms of her mindset. And even now that she's retired, and has a family, it's like bang, bang, bang. And all, Chalmers, when I met Chalmers 5 years ago, that kid, apart from the fact he's super tall and super fit, no wonder why he keeps breaking records. It's a mindset. You just talk to him and instantly he believes. So, Simone, I hope that in a very long week. I mean, you've been very quiet for 30 minutes. You haven't tried to cut me off. Are you having one of your, oh my God, I love this moment?
I am. I am really enjoying this. I think there's so much to reflect on within this topic. And I think about my business and I think about my career and what's happened in those stages and where you sit in that fixed mindset or, all of those different scenarios. So I think there's so much to take away from this hot seat episode that it's great just to, I get in awe of seeing you live your passion and purpose as well and share that because it is infectious. It is something that you're just like, oh, I want that too. How do I create that for myself? So it's always a pleasure to
I
listen
really
to.
love that because thank you for saying that because I do. Today I was with a client where we're making some structural changes. I'm chairman of their board, quite a large engineering firm, and we were writing copy for the PR. And she looked at me, she's like, you are getting like your excitement level. And I said, it's great. And she knows me so well and hers too. And we just started jamming on how we would write it. And then I had to go because I had a call to the US and right in the middle of it, because we just spent a whole hour chunking this out. And then I messaged back going, what do you think of this? About like half an hour. I had to stop. The energy was gone. And I was like, what do you mean you had to stop? I'm like trying to get back to it right now. And I'm like, oh crap, now I'm going to get back to it later. But it's so true. When you have purpose, you can create magic, right? And magic isn't money, ladies and gentlemen. Like people get so lost in this world of wealth. You see all these people, like, I've got so many people I know who compare the car they drove 10 years ago. They may have driven a 355 Spider convertible Ferrari back then, and now they're driving a brand new 488 Pista, and they've done very well for themselves. And I'm super, super proud of what these guys have done. But I look back, and the reality is none of them have ever lost anything, right? And I've gone off and I've lost money, and from that day on, I realized I don't need any of that shit.
Yeah.
And what I need my children to know I love them, my wife to know I love them. I need my dog to stop following me everywhere, right? No, he's just pure love. But I want my people to know that they come first. Even though I'm a complete ruthless arsehole sometimes, as right, it's only because I care so much about creating freedom for everyone. And unfortunately, my hardest battle is that I want everyone to have my mindset, and that can't happen. So I've got to check myself and realize that people are going to have competing priorities, and they're not going to be aligned with everything I want. So then I've got to, as a leader, mobilize those people, and that's super frustrating. And I know there's people still listening, and they're thinking, another moment, another episode, another day, because I've got to be on a call with a client in 1 minute. And I also have to try and race home to cook dinner. And go the Matildas. Go girls tonight. I have not missed a single game. And I used to watch the girls beforehand. But last week's game, oh my goodness. Right? So
everyone in Australia should be watching that tonight. And
look,
I just want to shout you out in the comments for saying that it's such a rare occasion that I am being quiet. So yes, I'm glad that there were so many gold nuggets for you to take away within that, Belinda. We love having you as one of our clients in the COD program. So thank you for tuning in and being with us.
Yeah, no, I love it. I've now worked out how to actually get posts up on the screen. So, I just found, and look, truth bomb. Love it. Fist pumps coming in from Shirley, right?
Yes.
But the reality is, it's life is there to be lived. Life is there to be lived. And if you don't take the opportunity to live it, someone else will. Don't you be that statistic that's not living life. Play it full.
I love that.
All right. I better go.
Kristian Lavolsi, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you for giving your insights tonight, as well as your passion and purpose, which we know you play full out and live into. So thank you to everyone who's watched. Please hit the hashtag replay if you're watching this on replay, and thank you for being here with us live. We'll see you next week, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Sydney time, for another episode of The Hot Seat.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
And